Hello, everyone. It's Martha Novak. Just finishing up a prayer before we started. I'm so glad to see all of you all and be with you again today. I missed last week and do want to make the announcement now that I'm going to miss the next 2 weeks. I'm so sorry about that. But when we come back, we're going to do a big expose of control. It's such a good subject. How we all control and why we have a misperception about that in our lives. It's a really, really good subject to talk about. All right, so that'll be 3 weeks from now. You can check my website, which is Martha Novak, NOVAK.com, NOVAK. When I married my husband, I found out there are a lot of ways to spell that, and I think through the years, almost everybody has spelled it in some wacky way. But hello, Rose, come on in and join this video. This is just great. We're so glad to have you. We're so glad to have everybody. Oh, I see my friends clicking in. Hi, sweeties. Good to see you. All right. So let's do a quick prayer, get us all on the same page. And then we're going to start off with a really good show today, I think, because of the information it contains therein. And just before we do a prayer, let me say this. We as human beings normalize things so we can keep doing it. Kids normalize, generalize, oh, everybody's like that, or all women are like that, or all men are like that. Or we elevate what we're doing, like self-sabotage, or keeping ourselves back, or not reaching our potential, or supporting our father's depression by being just like him, or more. And we elevate that in our child's mind to some sort of godly proportions, like this is the right thing to do, right? Well, it's right because it helps you survive, but at one point it is truly in the way of who you really are, and that is your potential, my darlings. It just is. So you are here on a radio show like this to find out who you really are, to strip away the pretense that we have there for protection, to realize you're already protected. God's all you are. Love is all you are, except for the distortions, because you've realized from your childhood, no matter what kind of childhood you had, even if you describe it as very good, there's still misperceptions about you, about God, about family, about mother, about father, about sisters and brothers, about just about everything. And our deepening consciousness and going to enlightenment really does have to do with our willingness to explore the unknown, to go in that cornfield, as James Earl Jones did in that movie Field of Dreams, and find out what's there. Right? Okay. Let's do a quick prayer, get us all on the same page, and we'll launch into our lesson today. Dear God, thank you so much for the opportunity for all of us being together under the banner of knowing you as who we are, as the aspect of us, and so much more, because our little aspect is just part of a glorious whole that is all you, the oneness with all life. We're opening to that, dear God. And we thank you so much for the opportunity to be here and be here together and feel close to people we don't even know, because this is a community of like minds and like hearts. We thank you so much, dear God. And we now say that we know nothing, that it is the you through us and through all things that know it all. We are opening to that and listening to that today. And we thank you so much for the whole system of you, of which we are a part and we belong. Thank you so much for everything. And so it is. Amen. So, guys, here we go. We're going to talk today about, and I'm going to give you a trick. I played a trick on my class. So one day, and I've named this this class. I've named this class Self-Sabotage. The truth is, today we really are not so much talking about self-sabotage, and I'm going to give you that in just a second, what we are talking about. I did play a trick on my advanced class when we did this exercise, and much of what you're hearing, they came up with. Isn't that brilliant? Because they are marvelous healers, and they're also people that have made their way and are making their way through all of this themselves, right? So the trick was this, and I'm going to give you all, my radio and Facebook Live audience, the answers, all right? So the question was, in what ways do you sabotage yourself? By this time, much of my class are not doing the big, overt things to sabotage themselves. But they're still doing the little ones, the little obscure ones, the little things that you don't even realize are self-sabotage until you go, wait a minute. And the reason is, ready? We've normalized this behavior. We've normalized this in some way. Our ego child's mind, the part of us that thinks like a child, says, okay, this is just what I am. Is it really? Is my question to you. It is not. These are devices of protection. That's the first thing I want you to know about all this. These are devices of protection. But number two, and here's the real secret. Good morning. I'm freezing for some reason, Rose says. Rose, darling, thank you so much for letting me know. And good morning, Judy. I don't know, except we have low speed up here. What else could be going on with our computers? We are having a rough time. Yesterday, I was teaching my advanced class, and they could barely understand me over Skype. It was real garbled. So, and I could hear it from my end too. So we got off back on again. I think we did that once or twice. And it corrected maybe a little bit, but not a lot. I do think it has to do with our low speed. I'm out here in the country, and this time of year, this is a resort community, so a lot of people come up and are on their computers. I hope not on Sunday morning, we'll see, but that could be going on too. Now, here's the thing. We are hoping that in the fall, we might have fiber optics out here. They keep promising us this. We have put in our application for it. It's not just us. It's the whole community, the whole mountain I'm on. So let's hope for the best. We'll do the best we can with all this, okay? And thank you for being the lovely audience you are, Blog Talk Radio and Facebook Live, because you stick with me whether you can hear me or not. You all are great, And sometimes when I have not even been able to get on the bloomin' air, I'll just do it next week. And so you all don't miss the information. But thank you for understanding. And Rose, thank you for telling me what's going on out there, because I'm over here with the dog at my back of the chair, and certainly I don't know what your experience is, and that's very helpful to me when I know. Thank you. Okay, so let me get back to the subject, because I haven't told you the big deal. So number one, you're doing all this to protect yourself. I get that. I get that. Even if you had a great childhood, you've got to understand you start out as the fear-based self because you don't have the developed brain. You don't even start having the developed brain until you're in your 20s. I wasn't ready even then. I was older. I was in my 30s when I started this search. So, or maybe late 20s. Who can remember? Anyway, guys, it's very important for you to realize that no matter what childhood you have, there are misperceptions about things there. How can those happen when you've had a perfectly charmed life? Well, because everything doesn't go your way and you're thinking very small. I mean, as a child, all time is now before 18 months old. Do you realize that? So if you're in pain, if you've gone too long and your diaper's wet, if you have not eaten on a regular schedule, if somebody's yelled in your house, except any of it, a little kid bonks you on the head, whatever has happened to you, your body, because it has not worked out the defense yet, that does come along about 18 months old, ego and ego child's mind come along together at that age. All time is now. So what does that mean to you? That means you think this is going to last forever. There's no sense of it starting and stopping. You're too young for that. You have not had that experience. That experience comes along with the ego child's mind and the ego, you see? That's why it happens. Enough bad things have happened by 18 months old. Enough bad things have happened. Your perception is that. Now, do you remember them? Absolutely not. Some you do, some you don't when you get a little older. They all reflect something energetically that happened earlier that was unsettling, that you didn't understand. As a matter of fact, in the womb, I think we get a lot of chemicals that our mothers feel, and we don't understand it because we're just undeveloped love. How do you develop that? You get more conscious. You become less fearful and more loving as you grow, as you age. When we start out, we get these chemicals and we don't understand them, and we kind of encapsulate them and store them. And this is the fixations we talk about. There are a lot of energy around these things we don't understand. So we're born, we start living, and we look around and we are looking for those incongruous things that explain the chemical reaction that we had, the chemicals we've received from our mother. You see? If your mother was unhappy because she's still living with her in-laws, pregnant and unhappy, you've got a lot of those chemicals that you're out there trying to say, oh, that explains that. They're people that thwart me and that are mean to me. I'm frustrated. She was frustrated because she couldn't get out and have her own home. She always worried about the lack of money because they couldn't afford it. That's why they're living with the in-laws. You get these things chemically that you then translate emotionally when you are out in the world, and there are things that explain that energy, you see. Isn't that interesting? I find it fascinating. So many of our misperceptions come from the womb. Now, what happens when you're born and these things that you remember, falling off the gym, the playground gym, I don't even know what you call it, the swings or something, and hitting your head, or the little girl across the street being mean to you when you wanted to just go over and play with her and belong, right? Those things we remember, the trauma of our fathers yelling at us in front of company. We remember those things. But they have their inception in energy. When you are even younger than you can remember being. That's how things start. That's how things start no matter what, you see. It's interesting because we all think we're alone until we don't. We all think, oh, I'm so ashamed of me because I have this or that. I do this or that. And sometimes we don't understand ourselves. That's what, this kind of therapy is good for, because, it's like, it gives us a new perspective on things, a larger perspective. It's like putting the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle together. Guess what? One day, you're going to see the whole. And when you do, you're going to know it was all perfect. But that comes later on in the process. You can't force that, or it's fantasy. Okay? So, this kind of thing that we're working on right now is not only what you are doing to protect yourself still, even when, by the way, there's nothing to protect you from. And two, every single thing I read, substitute the word sabotage for control. It's control. Kids, it's control. In 3 weeks, that radio show is going to be about control in all its glory. But we're opening the door now, because all this sabotage, all this protection of yourself, all this translates to control as well. So I'm kind of putting the cart before the horse here, but it's important to do so because we're talking about self-sabotage. We may double back and talk about some of this in terms of control. But this is extremely important for you to start saying, I'm trying to control this situation. So that's in direct contrast to allowing your highest self, your God self, the aspect of you known as God, to channel through you, and that you'll be all right in that energy. You will. Do you think God doesn't keep you on the cutting edge of change? Do you think God's going to take you in some direction you don't want to go? God's all you are. God's your predilections. God is your talents and gifts and abilities, even if you don't know what they are fully yet. And you don't. How's that? Because when you start this journey and you get that ego child's mind out of the way and you're really confronting it, what you're going to find is an incredible amount of talent that you have not even realized coming to the fore. I've seen it over and over again. I've been doing this for many, many years. What comes out of you, you won't believe. This came out of me. This whole method, all my methods came out of me. And my self-analysis and discovery of self. So guys, you have every reason in the world to do it, and no reason not to, unless you let fear be the excuse. Okay? Don't let that be your excuse. Everybody's afraid, but the strong ones of you get up and do it anyway. Isn't that wonderful to know? Just get up and do it anyway. You're going to be all right. And you're going to find such joy on the other side. Talent, joy, also. You hear the expression, the beneficence of God. It's in the highest self. All the solutions are there. All the connections with other people. All the sense of belonging to the oneness with all life and people. Really being able to love beautifully without agendas. It's all there. The forgiveness of everything. The awe that this is how the system works, and that you're able to manifest anything you want because this is your life. You're in control. You're empowered, you see. It's a wonderful thing. So, here is the original question. In what ways do you sabotage yourself? In what ways do you control yourself and other people? In what ways do you protect yourself? All going to be the same answers, because all of those are motives to do what are on these pages in front of me that my classes came up with. Okay? Everybody understand? Let's launch off, shall we? I hope I'm not freezing anymore, but you never know. Now, I do have someone over here that is asking a question, so I'm going to bring them in on Blog Talk Radio. Let's hope for the best. Here, hang on just a second. All right, this is a 917 exchange. I think that's New Jersey, is it not? Hello, you there? Hello? 917, are you there? Okay. Nope. Guys, as many of you do know, this is a live show today, And so I am here to answer questions for you or discuss anything you want. And the guest call-in number is 347-850-1647. That number is the number that's going to get you on the air. So if you are calling that number, you will be on the air. Otherwise, if you will go to either Blog Talk Radio, Facebook Live, and enter Real Talk with Martha Novak, Novak, or go to my website, which is marthanovak.com, and Novak, you will go to radio shows once you're in my website, and it'll give you a choice to punch either Blog Talk Radio or Facebook Live, and you can get in that way to the live show. And you won't be on the air that way, okay? So, I'm just going to leave that line open because, honestly, I don't know who's listening on that and who might have been confused about the numbers. It's fine with me. I just want to serve everybody the right way. All right, so we're going to push on. I gave you about 12 things last week. We're going to have a lot more. And some of these may sound repetitive because they're different people talking about these things. But there's always a different angle because we're all different, you see? So that's the reason I think that this is very, very helpful. So here's the next one that was the answer to the question. I try to avoid blame from others and myself. Remember that for you too, if you even notice yourself criticizing other people or blaming other people, guess what you're doing to yourself? But there's a human trait here. It's so awful when we beat up on ourselves that we spread it around a little bit. So it only tells you that you're being too harsh to yourself when you're doing this to other people. Do you understand? So I need for you all to wake up and realize what you're saying to yourselves, because your talk is harsh. I can guarantee you if you're doing that, you're being too harsh to yourself. Are you supposed to be harsh to yourself? Do you believe that makes you a better person? Because many people have that cognitive distortion that makes me a better person. If I'm harsh to myself, if I criticize myself because my father was very critical or my mother was very critical and I think I need it to motivate myself, you're dead wrong. It just is harsh. You go toward pleasure and away from pain, my darlings. Hello, Denise. Thank you, darling, for that wonderful blessing. And hello, Chanel. Oh, what a pretty name that is. We're so glad that you're with us today. What a beautiful name, Chanel. Yeah, very nice. Good morning. Those of you who are on Blog Talk Radio, I'm talking to people that are making their appearance on Facebook Live. And it's just a joy to see these lovely faces. Okay. Guys, harshness doesn't help anything. You being harsh to yourself is actually sabotaging yourself, helping you control your situation. You can't go too fast through all this consciousness work. Oh no, your ego child's mind says something terrible will happen. Do you know that many times in this work, people that work with me will start laughing. We'll start laughing about this because they'll have disaster dreams at significant points. When they're about to make a breakthrough, they'll dream that there's a great big tsunami that just wipes everything away. Oddly enough, these disaster dreams show you that you're all right at the end. But they're all really scary, or there's a tornado that comes sweeping through, or some natural disaster, or a fire burns everything down. Okay, what you're saying is the ego child's mind in your dreams is saying, I'm scared to smithereens. I'm changing. All these dreams represent is change. And your ego child's mind is saying, I'm scared to death to change, because the ego child's mind has a set of rules and set of policies and set of regulations. They've figured out how to negotiate the rocks in the water. Yeah, it never occurs to you in the ego child's mind that there's smoother waters somewhere else. And that's in the higher self. You see, the ego child's mind knows nothing of the higher self. The highest self incorporates the ego child's mind, so it knows all about it. It knows both. But the ego child's mind knows nothing but itself. And boy, does it freak out. So you can either believe that and stop, or you can realize what's going on in all the little devices. And that's one of the reasons I do these shows. I want to tell you all the little devices that the ego child's mind does. Oh, there are infinite varieties of this. And one of them, to keep you in your place, is criticism of self, harshness of self, blame of self. Don't you understand? Sabotage, protection, control. It accomplishes it all, you see. Does it feel good? Hell no, it doesn't feel good. Does it make you depressed? You bet. I'd be depressed too if I was as harsh to myself as some of the people that come to me as clients are to themselves. So we have to stop this. You don't need that to make yourself better. You see, you got that from your childhood. If your mother was critical, or your dad was critical, or someone who was an influential other was critical of you, you learned to be critical of yourself. You thought you needed it because it existed, and you couldn't get out of it. So here's a way you have distorted that as a good thing, instead of realizing that's a bunch of crap. You understand? So it's really important to listen to yourself. It's really important to challenge the truth of a situation. Hi, Hope. Oh, darling, I'm so glad you're with us today. Hope is one of my really good friends, guys. She's a sweetheart. All right. One more lesson before I go on, because if I don't, the subject is going to last forever. And I got a lot more of these to get through. Let me remind you, because I said this last week, and I've said it other weeks somewhere along the line. Guys, your body goes toward pleasure and away from pain. You always make the choice toward pleasure or something that doesn't hurt as much as the pain. This is caused because when you were extremely young, you were one cell. A lot of information comes into that cell about growth and change. That cell either dies or divides in two. And this process keeps going. Now, that is you at your fundamental cellular level. Okay? The grown-up version of this, the version of this when you come out of the womb and that you have formed is, number one, you're more cells divided than died. Congratulations, you're here. 80% of success is showing up, Woody Allen says. But this is the reason you go toward pleasure, all right, or something that doesn't hurt as much, which is going to be living, and you think that pain will bring death. It is a fundamental, scary cellular belief of yours until you do some work on yourself and you realize, wait a minute, everything is God. Everything's all one thing. I don't need to do that kind of division anymore. But right now, the cellular self isn't working with you. It's not cooperative with the higher self mind. Judy, I love you. You are just adorable. She says, preach it, Martha. Oh, you are so cute. Guys, I care about you very much. I want you to know that. We're all in this together, okay? You sweet things. But for heaven's sakes, guys, this is one of the reasons you're so harsh to yourself and what I'm challenging today. I love you too, Judy. I really do, darling. This is one of the reasons I'm challenging this today, guys. You've got to get past your survival skills. You're either surviving and investing your energy in surviving when you already have, and you just need to open your mind to some of these new concepts and live that way, or you are creating a wonderful life. It's the empowerment of self that you're going to. You see? So please, guys, if you are blaming yourself and others, you are also, as my client is writing here, trying to avoid it. You're trying to avoid blame from others, blame from yourself, and you're creating a very small life so you don't have to blame. A small life. Are you supposed to live a small life? Hell no. You're supposed to go out there and know who you are and stand in that marvelous place of your authenticity and give your value. You're saying, what value? To the world. Let me tell you, you become more and more contributory the further you go, because you start being aware of some talents you didn't even know you had. It's the most miraculous healing. And it's all part of the system. I am blown away by the awe of it all. And I hope you will be too one day as well. All right. Now, the next one is I try to be perfect and do things perfectly. There is no such thing. Do you all realize that? There's no such thing as perfection. There is only perfection in God. God is the system. God is this energy. God in the Bible, it says, I am that I am, not who I am. So the whole idea of God as an old man sitting on a throne with a long beard pushing us all around on a chessboard is just ridiculous. God's energy. It's the energy. You're the who of it. And that's what the Trinity told us. Father, Son, and the Holy Ghost, right? The Father is the inner Father that is us, that is the truth teller, that knows what's going on, that receives the information. The Holy Ghost being everything that isn't us, that's God. And the Son is not Jesus, as we've been taught over and over and over again, and that's the only thing that's in that thing. He's holding the place for you. It's the human experience that unites that and makes that work. That formula. That's a formula. The Father, Son, and Holy Ghost. It's a formula for living. And your human experience is really important. So what happens when you push the human experience away? I'm bad at that. I'm not good at that. I don't like that about myself. What happens there? You're pushing energy away that needs to come back. That's why acceptance of self in all its flawed glory is so important right now. Because it's just energy and it's got to come back to you. To live in this moment right now, the sacred moment where you get to create what you want, or you get to learn something, or you get to enjoy something, or you get to express yourself in some powerful, loving way. You get it. Be sure and write me or call me and let me know if you don't get it. Because I have years ago, when I lived in Atlanta for a while, and I would go to my esthetician for facials. She was marvelous. And the woman that was at the front desk, and Claudia, if you're listening, you're adorable. I just thought this was the cutest thing, and I've used this many times, but she would say, I listen to your show every week, and I don't understand what you're talking about, but I listen. And all I could say is, you just wait. You know, one day you're going to wake up and go, why didn't I see that? It's just funny. Yes, Rose, I think sometimes it's hard to be happy because the ego child's mind's gotcha. Okay? That's all. The ego child's mind has you. We've got to figure out all those things that you're doing that are making you unhappy. Every one of them, I think, is on this list. So we'll keep going with the list, okay? And she says, Rose also said, energy to come back. That's cool. I see. It's releasing from junk bonds, baby. You know, we've got these fixations around things. We've got these misperceptions of ourself and life and God and family and everything. and love. You know, what can we be misperceiving? Just about everything, right? Okay, now this same number is coming up again. So let's see if I can bring them on board. Hang on. Hi, are you there at 917?
Yes, yes, I'm here. How are you?
I'm fine. What's your name?
Tina.
Tina. Hey, Tina. Tina, hang on a second. I'm going to see if I can move things around a little bit so everybody can hear you real well. Tina, we're glad you're with us today. Do you have a comment or a question?
Oh, no, were you doing readings? I wanted to ask a question about a relationship.
Okay, you want to ask about a relationship? What is it?
Yes, I'm dating a new guy, and I just wanted to see what Spirit has for.
He's kind of here and there, though, isn't he?
Oh, it's pretty new.
Huh?
He's nice. I said it's new.
He's nice, but I think you're going to find he's kind of doesn't know what he wants when you get deeper into the relationship.
Okay.
He just doesn't know what he wants. He's not solid. He isn't grounded. He doesn't know what he wants, darling. That's all. I mean, he's a nice guy. Enjoy, have fun. But that's what he feels like to me, that when you get a little further on, he just is kind of all over the place.
Oh, well, why do we come together?
Well, you come together for a lot of reasons. You may like each other. That doesn't mean you're going to end up together, It means you've got something to enjoy or learn or whatever from each other.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think, I'm not saying that one day he won't go deeper. I'm saying you're going to want to go deeper and he's not going to do it. That may be where you stop it. That may be, you may live with that a while, but he just is all over the place. He's got something to get through, darling, in terms of commitments.
Okay.
I'm sorry to say that, but it's just true. I mean, well, nothing, Tina, there isn't a relationship in the world that doesn't have something to get through, sweetheart.
Mm-hmm.
Just the way it is. Because you've got to train him to treat you a certain way. He's training you to treat him a certain way. You all are seeing if that's compatible, You've got to find out whether you're going in the same direction. He's not going in the same direction as you right now, relationship-wise. He's enjoying you. You're enjoying him. That's great. And as long as it stays on this level, it's going to be great. But if it's starting to get more serious, I think he's going to be unstable there. Okay?
Okay.
All right, sweetheart. Anything else?
Can I ask about my children?
Sure.
Son and daughter?
Yeah?
Yes, whatever you want me to know about them.
You have a son and a daughter?
Yes.
I pick up the daughter stronger. Is she the older one?
Yes. Yes, she is.
Uh-huh. Okay. She's very determined. And while she doesn't know what she wants to do, that determination will see her through. As long as she's determined and not stubborn, she'll be fine. So point out the difference to her. Okay?
Yes.
You understand? All right. The boy's quieter. He's got a very sweet element. He's very sensitive. And he is he's too young to have found himself anyway, but he's going to have a little problem with that because it's as if he believes already that he doesn't fit in as much as he'd like. So you might want to talk with him about that.
Really? Why is that?
He's more sensitive than most. Most kids his age.
You're saying intuitive? Well,
He could develop that, but no, I'm just saying sensitive. I'm saying he is feeling. He feels a lot. He feels more than the average young man his age allows themselves to feel.
so he's empathic.
He's empathetic. Yeah, I'd say he's an empath. Yeah, I'll go that far. Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Good kids, though. Good for you, Tina.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, but so what is his purpose? Are you saying what is his purpose?
No, I'm not saying that at all. He won't find his purpose for a long time. You know, that he's just got to go on the journey. That's all. And you need, as his parent, to realize that he's that sensitive and that feeling. And it's wonderful if you can get him to talk about his feelings or express his feelings in some artistic way. The thing that I don't want to have happen with him is for him to bottle them up and not have any expression and not have any creative outlet for his feelings. Because he should. He's got a talent to develop there of some sort.
So well, he's doing business. He's taking business administration. He's starting college in the fall.
Good,
So,
good. You might see if he likes to write or something like that, because it feels like he's got some talent in that direction.
okay, he does graphic art, so that's a way of him expressing himself.
That's a great way of expressing himself. Yeah. I just see him with a pencil or pen in his hand, and computer. So whatever he wants to do, I think creativity is the answer for him. Okay?
Oh, great. Yeah, because I'm very ambitious, so I really did need to know that.
Yeah, good. All right, darling. Well, you take care. Do you want me to leave your line open so you can hear the show, or do you have another way of hearing it?
Okay, I can hear it. No, you can leave it open.
Okay, just leave it open. All right, sweetie. Well, I'm going to go on with the class.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tina. And if you have any questions, just speak up, okay? Rose, I want to get to this note that you sent me. Oh, darling, really. Bless your heart. Rose is saying she has been widowed 8 years. And, yeah, I understand that you're scared to start a relationship. You're afraid of getting, as she says, a dud. And there are a lot of them out there, kids, that are just not going to match you. You know, there's no way around it. I mean, this whole world is made up of a lot of different people with a lot of different agendas and a lot of different trajectories. I agree with you about that. I don't know whether I'd call them all duds, but they're certainly going in a different direction than you might, Rose. Rose, if you're interested in doing some work, give me a call. However, so we can make this easier for you. But, darling, why wouldn't you be a little afraid? You've been enormously hurt if you're a widow, sweetheart. And it's a huge blow. It's one of the top 10 things that can happen to you, right? Losing your spouse. I think that this is a time for us to be real gentle with you, but get you ready for the future, because you're not going to be alone, sweetheart. There's just no way you're going to be alone. You don't want to stay in the fear, because the fear will keep you alone, all right? Or it will draw in a man as fearful, or a partner as fearful as you are, and we don't want that. So this is going to have to be something that you're going to need to release the courage inside so you can try again. Okay, sweetheart. But this time we also want you to be very discerning. You see, that's what people leave out in these lessons. All right, now Scarlett is saying, I found if you know yourself, you're on the way to a revelation. Yes, well, thank you, Scarlett. You are one of the things, I want to go back to something that I wanted to put on the table first, and that is, when we think about dating, we just think about dating finding a person and being afraid of people and, all those things that are the interaction portion of this. But one of the things we don't ever think about is being discerning. We're not discerning in our first marriages. We're not discerning in our first experiences of this. We just aren't. And it's extremely important to be that. That's God too. Saying, look out for that, that's a red flag, or listen to that, listen to what they're saying beyond the words, you see? And Scarlett is right, the more you get out of the fear, the better you listen to somebody else and can stay there in the present and hear what they're really saying to you, you see? And that's really important. It will help you not be so afraid. Because you're, in essence, interviewing them. And I do say it's kind of like a job interview. You can fall in love, and certainly we like chemistry, okay? But you can fall in love with most anybody, honestly, if you see them clearly and if there is any kind of match there. You want to interview them in the first few stages to make sure that everything is compatible and that you respect the other person, that they respect you, that somebody's not talking too much or too little, that they're being honest with you. You're looking for anything that appears odd, but you're giving them a chance over a cup of coffee. And you may go on from there. Okay. All right. So let's go back to trying to be perfect, okay? And do things perfectly. There is no such thing. The perfection lies in God. And the way to your divinity is through your humanness, and your humanness is flawed. So the more that we can embrace the fact that we're just all flawed human beings, but we're going to try our best, and we're going to self-analyze, and we're going to know ourselves as well as we can, and we're going to do the best we can with the information we've got, you're going to be fine. When we don't know our value, and we have a very poor sense of self, we're not solid in that. We try to make everything perfect, and we try to be perfect, and we try to look perfect because we are so insecure. If you all realized that your perfection issues, if you've got them, have neon signs around them for anybody who's looking that I am insecure. You don't want to do that. And you don't need that anymore. It's a way to control yourself and everything. And you can't control anything. Here's a revelation. You have never been in control. Not ever. You've manipulated, but you've never been in control. You try it, but nobody's in control. God has always been in control. And what is the matter with all this is you've been in the way. That's why it can't show itself as gloriously as it should through you. Thank you. You get it. That's what's going on. All right. There are other shows I've done on perfectionism on the radio, on Facebook Live, so you might want to look at some of those. Real Talk with Martha Novak, and hear about that in more detail. The next one is I'm always trying to avoid being wrong. I'm always trying. So there are two elements to that. You need to be right, and I'm always trying to avoid being wrong, which kind of makes you not move at all, not make a decision, not commit to anything. I'm afraid of being wrong. Well, what's going to happen? You're going to just say, I'm sorry, I was wrong. That's it. Does it make you any lesser a person? The truth is, it does not. Here's why you think it does. Because you take that, being wrong, this one time, and then you say, I'm always wrong. Is that true? No, you're wrong this one time. You're wrong. Didn't have enough information. Made the wrong decision. Not a great one. Corrected it. Good for you. You learned something. But these self-attacks, which we talked about, we ended the show week before last with self-attacking. These things are self-attacking. You see, self-attacking is when you layer emotion on things. It's not just that you made a mistake. You shouldn't have said that to somebody, whatever that is. So go and apologize. Say, I'm so sorry. I just was, talking without thinking. I really apologize about that, and I don't feel that way. Or I do feel that way. And here's why. But guys, this game you play of right and wrong, these are labels of the children's mind. Instead of just trying to, here's what the highest self always does. Okay? It tries to do the right thing. It just tries to do the right thing. That's your highest nature. It's just trying to do the right thing. The right thing sometimes relative, right? Your right thing may be different from somebody else's right thing. But in your heart and soul and mind and body, you're trying to do that. Now that's the highest self. The ego child's mind is playing these games. Right, wrong, good, bad, pretty, ugly. Keep them going. That's all our narcissism, really. Okay? When you no longer need to be right, and you're just listening to another person, and they're just, you just are appreciating them for who they are, even if they have a different opinion. That's where real dialogue begins. That's where you learn something. That's where the other person might learn something. If not, why don't everybody just believe something different? Why can't we love each other beyond that? I get so amazed at the divisiveness in politics right now because we've got our mind on the wrong thing, you see. We don't know how to come together. But it starts in each individual. I'll tell you that right now. It starts in you saying, no, I'm one with everything and everybody. It's okay. It doesn't matter what these petty beliefs are. They change over time, guys. Don't be so adamant about something that changes over time. Just try to do the right thing. Just release some of these old ways of looking at the world and that are erroneous, so you can be more filled with light and love and caring for your fellow human being and especially for you. Okay. The next one is I tried to avoid being exposed as being wrong, not being enough or being less than. Not being enough is something that almost everybody carries. It comes from never not being enough, but having a few instances where your parents don't pay attention to you. If you're a neglected child, that's what you believe. I'm going to tell you that right now. So we might as well face it, put it on the table. You need to confront it, okay? Because it's just not true. You are enough. We never blame our parents, you see, until we start waking up in consciousness to realize, wait a minute. They had something wrong with them. They couldn't see past themselves to see me. And I've been believing I'm not enough all this time because if I was enough, they'd pay attention to me. Guys, come on. That's just simply not true. I'm not enough. I'm less than. If you came from any kind of odd family with some sort of dysfunction going on and that nobody knew that on the outside, you bet you felt less than. You're different. Guys, you put that difference, you open these talents inside of you and you put that difference on canvas or on the page or on the screen or somewhere, you're going to do fine because you understand what that feels like. But you got to get out of it before you can have the perspective on it, right? We're going to tell you how. Don't worry. Let's keep going. You know what another great way of sabotaging and controlling and protecting yourself is? Procrastination. Procrastination. You know, procrastination takes the place of your doing and your committing to do. Guys, part of the equation, you know, I did a radio show a while back. I've done, by the way, many shows on this. So you can look in the archives. The archives are all on Blog Talk Radio, Facebook Live, and YouTube, okay? This show is always called, or series of shows, it's always called Creating the Life You Want. And I have a book that is called The Life You Want. And there are several chapters on creating the life you want. The formula for creating anything you want in life is this. You ready? Desire plus knowingness that lives in expectancy plus action equals the manifestation of what you want. How well you work that formula is how fast it comes in. And it also has to do with things lining up in your world. You don't have all the power. If you want a house, you got to, be open to someone out there matching you and wanting to sell while you want to buy, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But nevertheless, you have to hold up your end of the formula. Now, let me explain that formula for a minute. And I'm not going to take a lot of time. But desire, you have to desire something. And if you don't know what you desire, you do. You know the elements of that desire. In other words, do you want a long commute? If you want a new job, of course you don't. Do you want people to hate you at the job? Of course you don't. All right. So you know what you want. You want a job that's close in. You want somebody who is going to really appreciate you and be equally creative and fun to work with, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. You know those things. So desire plus knowingness. That means, and this is where you're short because everybody is, all right? This means that you must know that you've asked for it and it's so. None of this, I hope God understands what I want. I need to keep asking 15 times a day. I need to obsess about getting this. Those are ways to stop yourself. Because all you need is just to want it. And let it go. It's coming in. God's bringing it to you. Because God, you're the aspect of God you are. You wouldn't even have that want. Your job is to want. But God, the part of you that knows much more than you do about this want, brings it to you because God is the how. You're the want. You're the desire. That's it. That's how the formula works. If you know you're going to get everything, you just expect it and be happy, wouldn't you? All right, this should be pointing in a direction here, Rose, when you said, this is hard. Being happy is hard. You've got some beliefs that life is a struggle, you see. And darling, I'm not saying that just to you. I'm saying that to my whole radio audience and Facebook Live audience. It's just look at what you believe underneath. That's what you need to confront. Because it can be easy. It's a flip of the coin. But you've got some genuine things, and I'll say the things that formed your negativity and your negative thinking, I absolutely say, absolutely you had a right to that when you were a child. But do you want to keep it the rest of your life? How's it working out for you? It's not. It's not making you happy. Healing from all this and putting everything in its proper perspective, which is wonderful, joyous, creative, amazing. Okay, hang on. Toffle, gotta be quiet. Excuse me, I have a poodle. I have a poodle that does not like the dancing squirrels on the porch. All right, let's keep going. I compare myself to others is another way we do this. I compare myself to others. Guys, if you're comparing yourself to others, you got narcissistic tendencies. You may be an out-and-out narcissist, or you have narcissistic tendencies. Don't let this shock you. We all do. We're all narcissists, or we have narcissistic tendencies. Everybody does until they don't. What happens when they don't? Well, you wake up. You realize, well, it's not all about me at all. It's about, I have a sacred moment to live right now. I'm in charge of myself. I'll live that. I don't have to control anybody. I don't care what other people are doing. I don't know what they're saying. God bless them all. But I know what I do, and I've got to do it. Not out of, I need to be heard. I have to say my truth. All those are egoic things to say, to feel. Let's just do what we do well and offer it. Why not that? Why not write a book because we have to? Because our highest self is telling us we should. Hang on, we got poodles coming up. You want to say hello? Say hello. Whoa! Say hello, I got you. Say hello. This is Toffel, everybody. Toffel is almost 7 years old. I can't even believe it. But he's a good boy. And often helps me with my work. Okay. So if you're comparing yourself to others, it's a very unhappy situation, because you feel great when you're better than, you feel bad when you're less than, and are you really, that's what I'm putting on the table, are you really better than or less than anybody? The fact is, we're comparing things that should not be compared. You are you. Now make the most of it. See, you're comparing and playing with that instead of going down there and doing your job. And healing and finding out who you are and using your talents and gifts and abilities to express the light that is in you in some way. Add value to this world that way. Stop this comparison like kids do. This is what children do. Hey, Michelle. Oh, darling, I'm so glad you spoke up. I saw your picture. Thank you for being with us today. You all are dear. So this whole comparison is just what you do instead of going down there into you and finding out what's there and confronting the fear and going past it. Everybody's afraid. It's no reason that it should stop you. No reason. I acknowledge you had a good reason back then, but now that the truth is on the table, now that you know there are two parts of you, your ego child's mind that's afraid and this higher self that is marvelous and glorious and that will be empowered to add value to this world, I don't think there's much of a reason to keep the fear. It's time to confront it and realize it's not going to hurt you. You see, we're so afraid of the pleasure-pain thing. And pain is just there. Anxiety, for example, is just there as a signpost to say, look within. Look a little deeper because something's bothering you. You need to know yourself better. Every single bit of information like that is an opportunity for growth. But what do? We go, oh, I don't want to be anxious. I'll distract myself, right? That's what we'll do. I'll distract myself. I use this image all the time. I hope it's not too obscure because I think it's a good image. So you look in the mirror and your hair is all woo, 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 like mine often does. And what do? You got a comb and brush and you fix your hair. Now let's take that image into a metaphor. Let's look in the mirror and see hairs going in all different directions. What most people do when they see that is they yell at the mirror or they turn away and avoid looking in the mirror. When it's there to be fixed, kids, all of these can be fixed. They can be resolved. We've got to find out, though. They don't go away on their own. They don't go away from wishful thinking. They don't go away when you substitute a behavior for this. They don't. That's the way a lot of psychologists adjust you around the problem. But does the problem go away? No. So what are you supposed to do? You're supposed to resolve this in consciousness studies, in work on yourself, so that you just don't have any energy running into any of these things anymore. You do something else instead in a completely natural way, in a way that's completely natural to your authenticity. Why sabotage yourself? Why hide? Why protect yourself? Why control anything? If you are the channel for the ascended God, and you are in your highest self, why not live there? Now, here's the thing. You cannot say, well, I'll do it. I'm there. Because that very statement is ego, child's mind, fantasy. Because you can't do it without work. And it's really sacred work that you do. Okay, I want to read a few more of these before we also talk about how to get over these things. There's another one here that says, I have negative thoughts about myself and my level of intelligence. Okay, now this opens an interesting situation. Negative thoughts about myself and my level of intelligence. First of all, if you are a negative thinker, any excuse will do for you to do that. That's how important being intelligent or being stupid is. Any excuse will do. In other words, none of these things are important at all. If you negative think, you're looking for things to negative think about. That's the first thing I want to put on the table about this. And negative thinking is there for a lot of reasons. Well, if I'm negative thinking, then I can disappoint myself before anybody else disappoints me. Which only says to me that you've had a lifetime of disappointments in people that have should have been taking care of you and supporting you and honoring you and telling you you're great. Okay? So you had a good reason for that. But you don't need it now, because I need you to positive think. You're not going to be able to work that formula if you're negative thinking. If you're looking for the next catastrophe, if you're afraid that something's going to come along and hurt you, you can handle everything. The highest self has all solutions in it. You see, but you're not going to believe me. These are comforting words, aren't they? Lovely, comforting words. Love to listen to Martha, I hope you say, because they're lovely, comforting words. But do you believe that? You want to believe that. And that's why we're talking. And you will one day. But we've got to go down there and find out what you really believe and why you believe it. And we've got to frame that in a bigger picture. Now, I'm going to give you a real simplistic example of that, of this. Let's just say, let's make up something. Let's say a guy is a little kid and has a talent for writing. And he writes beautiful things, and he wants to get his dad's attention. And his dad just has no interest, first of all, in words, no interest in anything like that. He's workaholic. He just doesn't care. He either doesn't care or he's unaware that he should care. Something's going on with the father. So the kid, because all things are about children themselves, they are absolutely self-focused, and that's childhood. It's them in relationship to everything else. This kid does some things with that. But it isn't about the father and what an unaware bozo he is. No, it's never that. The kid says, I'm just not enough. I'm just no good. What I create isn't good enough, therefore I'm not good enough. I'm just not. Or the kid grows up to strive over and over and over again to get that father's attention. 20 years after the father has died, he's still doing it. And he works himself to death. He's turned into the workaholic his father was. Now that's a simplistic thing. You know why it's simplistic? Because in psychology, we make good things bad, bad things good. We're doing things that are actually sabotaging us, and we're saying they're good for us. Isn't that interesting? For example, somebody who overworks themselves to death, comes home and does nothing but go to work and come home and get in their bed, has no life at all, and you say, this is good for me because I work so hard, I soothe myself. That's not a normal way to be. It's not balanced. It's not good for you. You understand? Good. All right. Now, the second thing I want to say about this is, do you really not have any intelligence? That's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. I want you all to get on the internet. There's a radio show on this too, but I took it from an article called The 8 Intelligences. There are 8 intelligences. You're going to have 2, 3, 4 of them. Probably 3, 4 of them, I should say. Some to more or lesser extent. Some that haven't been developed yet, but you know you have them on the inside. Some you don't have at all. For example, I have very poor spatial intelligence. If you want me to organize something and to put things in little cubby holes and give everything a place, no, I can't do that. I don't see space. I can't tell you how far it is from here to the tree outside. I have no concept of that at all. I can't do it. My husband's really good at that. And when we first got married, it was like, why can't you do that? And it was like, I can't do that. I literally do not have this talent. But he can't do what I do either, which is feel people that call in on the phone and teach what we're teaching and things like that. So this is extremely important for you guys to see who you are. And this is another piece of information that nobody knows about. It's extremely important for you to go find out what your intelligences are. And then don't you dare tell me that you're not intelligent, because nobody was left out of this mix. You've got erroneous ideas of things in your head. Do you realize the school systems teach in a very reasoner way? They teach with words. They teach in a reasoner way. They teach logically, usually. Sometimes not in grammar school, but when you get in higher learning. But everybody doesn't think that way. Some people think emotionally, and some people, their intelligence is physical. You know, these are the weightlifters, people that really, you know, are smart with their bodies, the athletes, the pro athletes that are, you know, doing great out on the basketball court. They have an innate physical intelligence. So besides the 8 intelligences, you've got these intelligences that trigger. Are you emotionally intelligent? Are you mentally intelligent? Are you physically intelligent? What are you? And what combination? Because I am a reasoner, feeler, and those are real high, but guys, I'm just terrible at physical stuff. You put me in a dance class and I'm the one, even though I'm a star of the show because I was in theater when I was young, and I did musical theater because I can sing and all that kind of stuff. But I have to dance. I'm a terrible dancer. So I'd stand in the back of the room. I'd be writing down the combinations. I'd go home and I'd practice for 10 hours, and I could come back and kind of dance. And I always had the feeling that if I was cute from the waist up, they'd never notice what my feet were doing. So I was always very animated. But the room was filled with all these chorus men and women that were stronger movers than I was. And they just saw it one time and they could dance. Wow. I was in awe. Becky, I actually taught with multiple intelligences, planned my lessons, using them. So rewarding. Good for you, Becky. Good for you. Good for you. So many teachers don't know this. You know, I think if you remember that old movie with Richard, was it Richard Dreyfuss? Who was in that movie? I can't remember. I think it was Richard Dreyfuss. It was called Mr. Holland's Opus. And there was a man that came into him who was a coach, and he needed this very, very strong athlete. Hang on just a minute. Michael, we can hear you. Excuse me, darling. He's just gotten a call from Austria, and I don't think he knows. This call does not know that we are on the radio, because we're hearing that too. Yes, exactly. And in this movie, Becky said, Becky just said she loved the movie too. In this movie, the coach, the guy has a mover, a very physical learner, who's a great athlete, but he's about to fail in school. And so the coach goes to Richard Dreyfuss and says, you've got to help this boy pass because we need him on the team. And so Richard Dreyfuss at one point, because he teaches as a reasoner, says, I just can't do it. And I remember the coach says, well, maybe you're just not a good enough teacher. Wow. And so he starts intuitively teaching this guy. And I remember one scene in particular, you looked at the guy, I believe you looked at the athlete's feet, and it panned up, right? Panned up. And he was beating a bass drum. And it panned up, because he didn't know anything about rhythm. He didn't know anything about beats, right? And the camera pans up, and Mr. Dreyfuss is standing up, or Mr. Holland is standing above him. The boy has a football helmet on his head, and he's got the drumsticks hitting the head so that he can feel it in his body and hit the drum at the same time. That's brilliant teaching. That's teaching according to someone's language. We don't have the same language, kids. We don't. All right. Okay. Let's go to, right now, I'm going to give you these. We're going to go into this in 3 weeks, too, and talk more about this. This is such an important lesson. I don't want to hurry through anything. And you'll hear me saying we're going to talk about control issues, but we're going to talk like we're talking today about all of this and more, and get it straight within you. Hello, James. Hi, darling. How are you? I'm so glad that you are with us today. Let's talk about what to do with this, because we've done enough of this now for you to go, what the heck? I do this. I do this here. I do this there. To more or less extent, because this is all part of our humanness that we have got to embrace. We don't want to push this away. Oh, Martha says this is bad. Let's not do that anymore. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying you need to make your peace with this. We need to see what the truth is and go past these old ideas of self. So it's really important, number one, to identify the behaviors you're doing. I'm trying to give them to you right now. Do not beat yourself up about having them. Please don't do that. That's another set of things that I've got to do for you. All right? Just observe that you're doing that. Just be honest, emotionally honest with yourself. Okay? Number two, what was the trigger that caused you to feel that? What was the trigger that caused that behavior? What was it? Look back 12 to 36 hours, and it may be more than one trigger. But the thing that they all had in common was that you didn't acknowledge it. You didn't acknowledge it, and so it came out as one of these things we're talking about. Number three, it's very important for you to realize that this didn't happen in present time. This was something to do with the past, with your childhood. Every issue, all these issues are formed by the time you are 7 or 8 years old. You're cooked like a fine Christmas goose by that age. That doesn't mean you're going to live with it the rest of your life, because we are undoing that old tapestry now and pulling out certain threads. But it does mean that There's nothing new that's bothering you under the sun. It's all old stuff. And something at present time reminded you of that old stuff. So it's really important for you to say, well, I felt myself being real opposed and just pushing that away immediately. Well, which of your parents did that? Or who are you still reacting to? You see? Because not only did you inherit that behavior from one of them, you also did it in defense of yourself as well. That's just an example. The next point is I want you to start developing a tolerance for the unknown. The unknown is just God that you don't know about. You don't have the words for. Everybody wants to know the future. Everybody wants to know. Look at the television shows. Biden sneezes and they do whole shows on that. What is it going to mean to everybody if this happens or that happens? Nobody can tolerate the unknown. Well, the news people are just reflecting what we feel as a society. And guys, the ones that are sure of their authenticity and who they are as the aspect of God they are don't need to do that. We know the unknown is our friend. We know the unknown is our friend. God has us all. If you don't know that yet, we've got to help you know that. How? By going back into the past and seeing why you don't know that. Who didn't know that of your parents? I had a woman that was a dear friend, and she was also a client, and she kept saying how religious her dad was. Her dad was Catholic. He was so religious. He went to church twice a day, and he was there every time the doors opened at other occasions, and he helped out in the soup kitchen. He was just wonderful. He was the most spiritual man, religious man she knew. And yet, he had bad dreams every night. He felt he was going to be fired at his work every single day of his life. He was terrified he was going to run out of money all the time. Is this someone absolutely sure of God? And I'm saying you can be. I'm saying if you go on this journey and we confront a lot of these issues that make you doubt everything. Yourself, your God, is God even there? All right. I love these books like that say how can bad things happen to good people and things like that. They are not understanding the nature of this. All right. Everything is a wonderful growth opportunity. We're not supposed to feel good all the time, but we're supposed to absolutely know, no matter what happens in life, God's right there. We're okay. There are solutions in the higher self. There's solutions all around us with our friends, knowing things that we don't know. We are in a community. We're okay. And that pain isn't supposed to last. If it does, there's something to learn from it. There's something of value for us here. If we'll just open our minds to what's going on. But if we are still in the child's mind and the fear-based self, we're afraid of everything. Oh, anything to be afraid of will do. This is the journey to consciousness. This is the journey to enlightenment. Enlightenment is just consciousness that goes all the way. That's all it is. And where does it stop? It doesn't. That's what's so exciting about all this. It's very important, next point, that you develop emotional fluidity. And before you develop emotional fluidity, you better learn how to call the emotions you're feeling by name. And I'm not talking about a general umbrella. I feel afraid. Oh, yeah? Well, if you look at an emotion list, you're going to find 15 or 20 things that reflect that word. Now, which one of those are you? Which of those are you? You need to really be articulate with this. So go back to, I think I have said in other shows, you need to go to the internet. You need to enter a list of emotions, find the longest one you have. acknowledge something that they're not going to acknowledge on the internet, which is there are only really two emotions, fear and love. Those are the ones that are opposite, not love and hate. Fear and love, everything on that list goes in one or the other column or both, depending on what mind you're in, your child's mind or the adult mind. So a lot of times you've got both. Depends on your perspective and how you're looking at it and what motivates you. Because the ego, child's mind, is always going to be motivated by fear and anxiety. And the higher mind is always going to be love, peace, harmony. Okay. It's always good to be in some sort of group or work with a therapist so you can then talk about your feelings. You see, it's interesting because you don't just feel. Emotion works in two ways. You feel and then you express your feelings. That's why the creative experience is so good, writing and painting and sculpting or doing whatever you're doing, because you feel and you should express those feelings. You feel and you should express those feelings. That's why when I was talking to Tina about her son, I said it's really important that he have a creative thing here. He's very sensitive. He needs to express his feelings. That's healthy. But it's healthy for all of us, actually, you know. And short of that, we need to be able to talk with trusted others, you see. Others that won't betray us and use our feelings against us. That's why, you know, therapists don't have a dog in your fight. We just want what's best for you. The next point is for you to identify your goals, but practical goals. And we've got to get rid of your fantasy. Fantasy is its own reward. I'm going to win the Academy Award. Have you even taken an acting class? Do you know what you're doing? I'd work on that. I'd work on having something of value to add. I'd work on getting an agent if you're serious. I'd work on learning how to get along with that agent and what to do. I'd learn what I'm doing, that I'm not getting a lot of calls. There you go. Identify your goals, but be practical in the reaching of them. And you might need a business coach, like many of my team and me. We are business coaches to help you plan these very practical goals, these steps along the way. And don't forget to ask for help if you need it. For God's sake, you're not supposed to know everything. You know, I don't know what the learning was that you had, but I have a dear girlfriend who thinks she's just got to know everything. She never asks for help. She never, you know, she gets in some terrible trouble sometimes because she just doesn't know, and she makes the wrong decisions, when all you need to do is ask people that know. It doesn't mean you don't know.
90 seconds.
And if you feel that it means you don't know, you're comparing yourself like we talked about earlier. Okay, guys, I'll see you in 3 weeks. I'll be here in 3 weeks. Not next Sunday, not the following Sunday, but the following Sunday. It's on my website. These things are already posted. So look up MarthaNovak.com.
60 seconds.
Novak. Dear God, thank you so much for all of this. We now release what we can and fill ourselves with the love that, aren't you sweet, Michelle? Yes, see you in 3, Becky. We so appreciate all you all listening. You all are just dear, and I love you very, very much. And God is good. Now rely on that. Okay? That's all you are. Let's go to that mind, okay? Good for you. Oh, aren't you sweet? Thank you all. I love you. Take care of yourselves. Stay well and healthy out there. Okay? Okay. Bye-bye.